Daily life is harsh, and most of us constantly seek escape from it in fantasies and dreams. Stars feed on this weakness, standing out from others through a distinctive and appealing style. They make us want to watch them. At the same time, they are vague and ethereal, keeping their distance, and letting us imagine more than is there. Their dreamlike quality works on our unconscious. We are not even aware how much we imitate them. Learn to become an object of fascination by projecting the glittering but elusive presence of the star. Seduction is a form of persuasion that seeks to bypass consciousness, stirring the unconscious mind instead. The reason for this is simple. We are so surrounded by stimuli that compete for our attention, bombarding us with obvious messages, and by people who are overtly political and manipulative, that we are rarely charmed or deceived by them. We have grown increasingly cynical. Try to persuade a person by appealing to their consciousness, by saying outright what you want, by showing all your cards, and what hope do you have? You are just one more irritation to be tuned out. To avoid this fate, you must learn the art of insinuation, of reaching the unconscious. The most eloquent expression of the unconscious is the dream, which is intricately connected to myth. Waking from a dream, we are often haunted by its images and ambiguous messages. Dreams obsess us because they mix the real and the unreal. They are filled with real characters, and often deal with real situations, yet they are delightfully irrational, pushing realities to the extremes of delirium. If everything in a dream were realistic, it would have no power over us. If everything were unreal, we would feel less involved in its pleasures and fears. Its fusion of the two is what makes it haunting. This is what Freud called the uncanny, something that seems simultaneously strange and familiar. We sometimes experience the uncanny in waking life, in a déjà vu, a miraculous coincidence, a weird event that recalls a childhood experience. People can have a similar effect. The gestures, the words, the very being of men like Kennedy or Andy Warhol, for example, evoke both the real and the unreal. We may not realize it, and how could we, really, but they are like dream figures to us. They have qualities that anchor them in reality, sincerity, playfulness, sensuality, but at the same time their aloofness, their superiority, their almost surreal quality makes them seem like something out of a movie. These types have a haunting, obsessive effect on people. Whether in public or in private, they seduce us, making us want to possess them both physically and psychologically. But how can we possess a person from a dream, or a movie star or political star, or even one of those real-life fascinators, like a Warhol, who may cross our path? Unable to have them, we become obsessed with them. They haunt our thoughts, our dreams, our fantasies. We imitate them unconsciously. The psychologist Sandor Ferenczi calls this introjection. Another person becomes part of our ego, we internalize their character. That is the insidious seductive power of a star, a power you can appropriate by making yourself into a cipher, a mix of the real and the unreal. Most people are hopelessly banal, that is, far too real. What you need to do is etherealize yourself. Your words and actions seem to come from your unconscious, have a certain looseness to them. You hold yourself back, occasionally revealing a trait that makes people wonder whether they really know you. The star is a creation of modern cinema. That is no surprise. Film recreates the dream world. We watch a movie in the dark, in a semi-somnolent state. The images are real enough, and to varying degrees depict realistic situations, but they are projections, flickering lights, images. We know they are not real. It is as if we were watching someone else's dream. It was the cinema, not the theater, that created the star. On a theater stage, actors are far away, lost in the crowd, too real in their bodily presence. What enabled film to manufacture the star was the close-up, which suddenly separates actors from their contexts, filling your mind with their image. The close-up seems to reveal something not so much about the character they are playing but about themselves. We glimpse something of Greta Garbo herself when we look so closely into her face. Never forget this while fashioning yourself as a star. First, you must have such a large presence that you can fill your target's mind the way a close-up fills the screen. You must have a style or presence that makes you stand out from everyone else. Be vague and dreamlike, yet not distant or absent. You don't want people to be unable to focus on or remember you. They have to be seeing you in their minds when you're not there. Second, cultivate a blank, mysterious face, the center that radiates starness. This allows people to read into you whatever they want to, imagining they can see your character, even your soul. Instead of signaling moods and emotions, instead of emoting or over-emoting, the star draws in interpretations. That is the obsessive power in the face of Garbo or Dietrich, or even of Kennedy, who molded his expressions on James Dean's. A living thing is dynamic and changing while an object or image is passive, but in its passivity it stimulates our fantasies. A person can gain that power by becoming a kind of object. The great 18th century charlatan Count Saint-Germain was in many ways a precursor of the star. He would suddenly appear in town, no one knew from where, he spoke many languages, but his accent belonged to no single country. Nor was it clear how old he was, not young, clearly, but his face had a healthy glow. The Count only went out at night. He always wore black, and also spectacular jewels. Arriving at the court of Louis XV, he was an instant sensation, he reeked wealth, but no one knew its source. He made the king and Madame de Pompadour believe he had fantastic powers, including even the ability to turn base matter into gold, the gift of the philosopher's stone, but he never made any great claims for himself, it was all insinuation. He never said yes or no, only perhaps. He would sit down for dinner but was never seen eating. He once gave Madame de Pompadour a gift of candies in a box that changed color and aspect depending on how she held it. This entrancing object, she said, reminded her of the Count himself. Saint-Germain painted the strangest paintings anyone had ever seen. The colors were so vibrant that when he painted jewels, people thought they were real. Painters were desperate to know his secrets, but he never revealed them. He would leave town as he had entered, suddenly and quietly. His greatest admirer was Casanova, who met him and never forgot him. When he died, no one believed it. Years, decades, a century later, people were certain he was hiding somewhere. A person with powers like his never dies. The Count had all the star qualities. Everything about him was ambiguous and open to interpretation. Colorful and vibrant, he stood out from the crowd. People thought he was immortal, just as a star seems neither to age nor to disappear. His words were like his presence, fascinating, diverse, strange, their meaning unclear. Such is the power you can command by transforming yourself into a glittering object. Andy Warhol too obsessed everyone who knew him. He had a distinctive style, those silver wigs, and his face was blank and mysterious. People never knew what he was thinking. Like his paintings, he was pure surface. In the quality of their presence, Warhol and Saint-Germain recall the great trompe-l'oeil paintings of the 17th century, or the prints of M.C. Escher, fascinating mixtures of realism and impossibility, which make people wonder if they are real or imaginary. A star must stand out, and this may involve a certain dramatic flair, of the kind that Dietrich revealed in her appearances at parties. Sometimes, though, a more haunting, dreamlike effect can be created by subtle touches. The way you smoke a cigarette, a vocal inflection, a way of walking. It is often the little things that get under people's skin, and make them imitate you. The lock of hair over Veronica Lake's right eye, Cary Grant's voice, Kennedy's ironic smile. Although these nuances may barely register to the conscious mind, subliminally they can be as attractive as an object with a striking shape or odd color. Unconsciously, we are strangely drawn to things that have no meaning beyond their fascinating appearance. Stars make us want to know more about them. You must learn to stir people's curiosity by letting them glimpse something in your private life, something that seems to reveal an element of your personality. Let them fantasize and imagine. A trait that often triggers this reaction is a hint of spirituality, which can be devilishly seductive, like James Dean's interest in Eastern philosophy and the occult. Hints of goodness and big-heartedness can have a similar effect. Stars are like the gods on Mount Olympus, who live for love and play. The things you love, people, hobbies, animals, reveal the kind of moral beauty that people like to see in a star. Exploit this desire by showing people peaks of your private life, the causes you fight for, the person you are in love with, for the moment. Another way stars seduce is by making us identify with them, giving us a vicarious thrill. This was what Kennedy did in his press conference about Truman. In positioning himself as a young man wronged by an older man, evoking an archetypal generational conflict, he made young people identify with him. The popularity in Hollywood movies of the figure of the disaffected, wronged adolescent helped him here. The key is to represent a type, as Jimmy Stewart represented the quintessential middle American, Cary Grant the smooth aristocrat. People of your type will gravitate to you, identify with you, share your joy or pain. The attraction must be unconscious, conveyed not in your words but in your pose, your attitude. Now more than ever, people are insecure, and their identities are in flux. Help them fix on a role to play in life and they will flock to identify with you. Simply make your type dramatic, noticeable, and easy to imitate. The power you have in influencing people's sense of self in this manner is insidious and profound. Remember, everyone is a public performer. People never know exactly what you think or feel, They judge you on your appearance. You are an actor, and the most effective actors have an inner distance. Like Dietrich, they can mold their physical presence as if they perceived it from the outside. This inner distance fascinates us. Stars are playful about themselves, always adjusting their image, adapting it to the times. Nothing is more laughable than an image that was fashionable 10 years ago but isn't anymore. Stars must always renew their luster or face the worst possible fate, oblivion. Stars create illusions that are pleasurable to see. The danger is that people tire of them, the illusion no longer fascinates, and turn to another star. Let this happen and you will find it very difficult to regain your place in the galaxy. You must keep all eyes on you at any cost. Do not worry about notoriety, or about slurs on your image. We are remarkably forgiving of our stars. After the death of President Kennedy, all kinds of unpleasant truths came to light about him, the endless affairs, the addiction to risk and danger. None of this diminished his appeal, and in fact the public still considers him one of America's greatest presidents. Errol Flynn faced many scandals, including a notorious rape case. They only enhanced his rakish image. Once people have recognized a star, any kind of publicity, even bad, simply feeds the obsession. Of course, you can go too far. People like a star to have a transcendent beauty, and too much human frailty will eventually disillusion them. But bad publicity is less of a danger than disappearing for too long, or growing too distant. You cannot haunt people's dreams if they never see you. At the same time, you cannot let the public get too familiar with you, or let your image become predictable. People will turn against you in an instant if you begin to bore them, for boredom is the ultimate social evil. Perhaps the greatest danger stars face is the endless attention they elicit. Obsessive attention can become disconcerting and worse. As any attractive woman can attest, it is tiring to be gazed at all the time, and the effect can be destructive, as is shown by the story of Marilyn Monroe. The solution is to develop the kind of distance from yourself that Dietrich had, take the attention and idolatry with a grain of salt, and maintain a certain detachment from them. Approach your own image playfully. Most important, never become obsessed with the obsessive quality of people's interest in you.